be here tonight. I don't want to say too much, I'd rather leave it for my keynote if I could. But it's great to see so many people here, and it's a wonderful experience to share tonight with you, and it's wonderful to be up here for the start of your festival, so I look forward to talking to you all very shortly. Thanks once again. Enjoy the next couple of days, and I hope most of all you enjoy my keynote. Thank you very much. I feel like I've just walked into Eden Gardens. It's wonderful to be here. It's nice to be opening the batting. As umpires, we're always the first on the field and we're the last off the field. So I'm pretty used to being out here on my own, but I'm sort of missing a colleague on my left-hand side. As I said before, thank you very much for the invitation. It's great to be here. Tonight, I'd like to cover a few things with you, and I'm very happy to get some audience participation and some feedback as we go. So, who'd like to hear some cricket stories? Okay. Who'd like to hear about some technology in cricket? Okay. Who'd like Virat Kohli's phone number? Well, I won't do that last one, but what I will do tonight is I will share some messages with Virat, from Virat. I was lucky enough to have lunch with him after the Sydney Test match, and we talked about a few things, and I'll put some messages from Virat and myself on the screen towards the end of the presentation. All right, so we're going to go to the third umpire now, and hopefully the third umpire is going to put my presentation on screen. Still not out. Can everybody at the back of the room hear me? Put your hand up if you can hear me right at the back. Wonderful. Okay, good. All right, we're going to show this presentation. It's going to be the foundation of my talk tonight. I'm going to show you some pictures, have a few laughs. We're going to have some fun. And at the end, we're going to invite some questions from the audience as well. Do you get it? Yes, Some quiz? First thing is I'd like everyone in this room to know is that you and I are not that different. You and I are not that different. It was about 20 odd years ago, I was sitting where you were in the University of Technology in Sydney, also studying for a degree. However, I stopped after 1 year. I stopped after 1 year because I didn't like it. See, I was a bit like you. I felt the pressure from my parents to do a university degree. But it wasn't engineering. It was a Bachelor of Business course. And after a year, I decided that I didn't like it, and I made the hard decision to stop. I can tell you nobody was clapping at the time. Not at all. And then I opened up the newspaper and I found a job. And I joined a printing company as an administration cadet. And within 5 years, I was a production manager, working my way up. And I had two very good supporting bosses who helped me with my umpiring career by giving me lots of time off, lots of understanding, lots of compassion, lots of freedom. So we have some things in common. One of the great reasons I think I'm here tonight is because cricket does unite us, and I do have some messages for you around what it takes to be successful, around what I've done wrong, what hasn't worked, but also what has worked. And hopefully through that cricket connection, you can take some things away from tonight and apply that to what you do so that you too can be successful. So cricket does unite us. It's a fantastic thing to celebrate. All of us are trying to get better. All of us are just trying to get better. All looking for that way to be that one step ahead. And in a population of 1.2 billion people, that's rather challenging. It's rather challenging to separate you from the rest. So small daily improvements over time leads to really good things. As I said before, being a student is a challenge. Being a cricket umpire is a challenge too. Every day we get up, we face new challenges. However, the secrets to success are pretty simple. But we have this wonderful ability to overcomplicate things. For those of you that haven't turned your mobile phone to silent, please do so now. Put it on flight mode, because we're about to take off to do the session, okay? One of the questions I always get asked is, why did I become a cricket umpire? Why did I become a cricket umpire? What was it about umpiring that really attracted me to do this? Those of you right up the back, I'm going to describe a couple of things. Just in case your eyesight's not as good as mine. However, I didn't take up cricket umpiring for this. But one of the good things about cricket umpires is we're really good at noticing things. Whether that's bowling action, whether that's a bit of ball tampering, whether that's players running up and down the pitch. We're really good at noticing things. Have a look at this guy. I've got a lot to get through tonight. Anyway, he's certainly not watching the ball, is he?
My goodness.
Now, to show you that I'm a man of integrity, where are my eyes and where are my hands? I did not take up umpiring for the hook sort of lokies, okay? I did not take up umpiring for the money. Did not do that. Money is not a driver. Money is not a driver. We earn, or we make we make a living by what we earn, but we make a life by what we give. Money is not a driver. I certainly... Thank you. I certainly did not take up umpiring for the awards. Umpiring is a team sport, and although we were given these individual awards, you do not achieve any success on your own. You achieve success because of the people that are around you. You are here because of the support and the love and the generosity of the people around you. Your family, your friends, your parents. So please understand that when these types of awards have been given to me, they are reflective of the efforts and contribution of my team around me. I'd like to talk about what life is like on the field as a cricket umpire, just with a couple of stories and use some pictures, because I know time is relatively short. We go through lots of challenges around heat and humidity, and India is fantastic at providing me with that, no question. Eden Gardens, Mumbai, you name it, tremendous. Tremendously hot, humid conditions, which are physically taxing. They really do present major challenges. We move from that into elements of cold, hot tender, really cold. So whether that's Durham in the north of England, whether that's Dunedin in the south of New Zealand, the extremes are huge. For me, I'd rather be really hot than really cold. Because when you're cold in a cricket field, there's absolutely nothing that you can do to get warm. So you have huge temperature swings with life on the field as a cricket umpire. The environmental conditions, this is Lords, the environmental conditions continue to amaze us. You know, whether that's bad light, whether it's rain, all those sorts of things, wind, bees, you name it, we get everything thrown at us. You just don't know what the game is going to present in front of you. Then, if Mother Nature's not enough, you then have things explode on the side of the field. Now, this happened in Peshawar when we were doing a test match. We had this massive explosion happen on the side of the field. We had no idea what had happened at the time. And this was the match that our friend Mr. Shahid Afridi decided to dance down the pitch and do some ice skating as we left the field. So just when you think you can cope with the environmental conditions, someone else throws a challenge at you. Then, if that's not enough, we then have player interactions and engagement. Now, this was a match in Mumbai. It was India playing England. 35 degrees, 80% humidity, lots of noise in the crowd, and then Munaf decides to give Owe Shah a bit of a hard time. One of the things that one of my colleagues taught me very early on in my umpiring career was to embrace the local culture. And I'll show you a picture of that in a minute. But in doing so, part of that was to learn some of the local language. So we started off with the numbers. Egg, goat, tin, sharp, punch, tag, start, and then we got into things like please and thank you. Done you up. But then eventually it led to bad words. So So why do we need to know that? Well, it always helps that when one of the players decides to call you a nasty name, at least you know what's going on. But Munaf Patel decided to say something to OA Shah. And what do you think Munaf said? Would you like me to tell you what he said? Yeah! Salah chuti. Now, Munaf Patel was more surprised that I knew what he said when he walked past me, rather than I said, Munaf, you can't say that, no more. Bus. So, player conflict is another challenge on the field that we have to deal with. But there are techniques and tips that can diffuse conflict and take a little bit of the aggression out of the situation. Now, every time Munaf and I see each other, we now have this common bond. Munaf will say, "Hello, Salah." And I'll say to Munaf, "Hello, Salah." And that's a great thing. So I'm a great believer that out of every breakdown situation, there is a breakthrough. So breakdowns do lead to breakthroughs. Then, of course, we've got Kingsmead, Durban. And one of your journalists asked me about this today, and in that over, I just got very sore arms. So I'm going to show you a picture in a minute about why fitness is important. But there are some really special moments, and it's very humbling to be part of history. You know, when things happen that's really, you know, World Cup 2011 final, semi-final, World Cups here, hat-tricks, 36 runs and an over, all those sorts of things. It's a privilege to be part of those events. So there are some good moments on the field. Not for Stuart Broad in this occasion. Really good moments. Okay. Technology's failing here. If someone could advance that slide for me, I'd be very grateful. There we go. All right, so what is life like off the field for a cricket umpire? What is life like off the field for a cricket umpire? 2003, I was very lucky at my first World Cup to visit Zimbabwe, and we went walking with the Lions in a place called Weru. And yes, I still got 10 fingers, 2 hands, two feet, they're all there. The Lions didn't take them. Special moment. Playing cricket in the West Indies is always very good. Even better, getting a day off in the West Indies. So working on the suntan is always great. I've been lucky enough to go to the Taj Mahal twice. Very special place. If you have not been to the Taj Mahal, put your hand up if you have not been to the Taj Mahal. Wow. Wow. You must go. You must go. It is so special. It's a great place. You must go. And this was our 2011 Cricket World Cup team. And as you can see, we were quite colourful. So it wasn't the festival of colours on this day, but even still we managed a good photo, special memories. Remember I talked about my colleague Daryl Harper before teaching me how to tour and why embracing the local culture was so good. This was us in Kharagpur. Did a test match in Kharagpur, and we went to the local bazaar just to get out of the hotel for a while. we decided to do some shopping. We saw these things at the local store and decided, oh, well, they look like nice hats, let's buy one. So we bought these hats, we put them on, and we walked back down the street to the hotel. And all these people were laughing at us. Little did we know that we'd just become married to each other. Good memories. Good memories. For those of you that saw the news story today from the BBL match that was cancelled last night because of the lights going out, Daryl Harper was actually match referee at that match. So maybe he needs his hat back, I'm not too sure. This was my last series in Sri Lanka 2012, and I was lucky enough to have my family with me for that trip. I've taken them away a couple of times to England and a couple of those places. They're yet to come to India. I'd love to bring them to India one day, but it's special to be able to provide opportunities to my family because the cricket journey is so isolating. It provides a lot of solitude at times. I was away for a couple of Christmases in a row, and that's really tough on the family. So it's nice to be able to provide some money can't buy opportunities to my family. It's also special to be able to meet people and dignitaries that you wouldn't necessarily meet. So I know that you've got an election coming up. We don't know whether this man will still be Prime Minister in a few months' time. But I am fortunate. Life off the field as a cricket umpire is privileged. At the highest level, you meet Prime Ministers. Last month I was lucky enough to meet the Dalai Lama. And they are special moments. They are really special moments. So there are some advantages in being a cricket umpire. Okay. Feel free to take notes. Feel free to jot some things down. But I'd like to share with you a few things about what I learned on my journey about stuff. Remember I talked about the 6 sixes and the importance of being physically fit? Well, this was my bodyguard in the 2011 Cricket World Cup. Pretty intimidating, isn't it? Yeah, I had no problems on that trip. Not too many people were asking for selfies when he was around. But one of the things that it takes to be successful, one of the first key messages I want you to think about tonight is for continuous improvement, you have to try new things. I've got no problem if it doesn't work, but if you don't try, you'll never know. You must try new things. So when he went to the gym for a session, I thought, oh, I'll give this a go. I'll try it. Now, obviously, I wasn't going to be lifting those things. I did try. It nearly killed me, but I did try. But I worked out a different way, or I worked out something that was all right for me. So, key message, you must try. To be successful, you must search for new information, you must ask questions, and you must have a go. What I've also learned on my journey is that, as per the introduction before, I really believe that to be good at something, you have to be a good person. Excellence is something that you do all the time. You don't pick and choose when to be excellent. I can't go to work Monday to Friday and then pick up my Superman suit, my umpiring kit on a Saturday morning, and then decide to be professional and then decide to be excellent. I've got to be excellent Monday to Friday in what I do, then to be excellent on Saturday and Sunday. You can't pick and choose. You are who you are 24/7. And you've got to have those special attributes and that desire to be good at everything because that's your brand. To be a good umpire, you have to be a good person. And this gentleman, for me, was one of the most outstanding gentlemen that I've ever had the pleasure to umpire with. He was just a special human being. He had a tremendous ability to build relationships with so many different people across different cultures. Because he spoke the language of humanity. Because he showed respect. He listened. He tried his best. He had all the good qualities that a normal human being should have. And I have no doubt that if he was a fireman, a policeman, a street sweeper, he still would have been the same person, the same decent human being that he was. So I owe a lot to Shep. And that was Shep's last game, but that photo is fairly significant for me because you look at the way that the player like Darren Goff is actually recognising and appreciating his contribution to the game, I think says a lot. That picture just says a lot. To be successful, you also have to practice very hard, but more particularly, you have to train and practice like you're going to play. So for those of you who study, and I hope there's a few of you in the room, for those of you that do study, study like you're doing the exam. So simulator-based training is really important to being successful. Don't just read it. Do an exam. Get the feedback. Make the improvements. Find out where your weaknesses are. Find out where your strengths are and make adjustments. So practice like you play. Does that make sense? Search for new information. I put that photo up there not to impress you. I put that photo up there to impress upon you. Not to impress you, but to impress upon you that there are people around you that know more things than you do. And go to sources that are the best in the world or the best in their field and find out why they did get to the best. Find out why they are so good. And engage them. So use the resources around you. What do we learn here? This relates to my comment I made before that breakdowns do lead to breakthroughs. Is that in times of trouble and conflict, and people will confront you and they will challenge you, you learn a lot about yourself and you make mistakes and then you bounce back. Things are really, really difficult. They're supposed to be. Test cricket is called Test cricket because it's a test. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But it's not. Getting a degree should not be easy. If it was easy, then everyone would do it. But it's not. So expect some challenge because challenge is good. How we going? We okay? All right. Now, just for the benefit of the people at the back of the room, I'm going to walk up here and do part of the session. I do wonder though whether my device is going to work all the way. If it doesn't, we'll see how it goes. All right, technology. Fairly topical in a place like this, isn't it? This is where we were back in the 90s with technology and third umpires. Go right up the back. Okay, this is where we were back in the 90s. This is pretty basic, isn't it? Are you watching the screen or are you watching me? This is where we were back in the 90s when technology was really, really basic. We develop and we get better. This is where we are today. You're watching the screen or watching me? Okay, so this is where we are today. Now look at that screen. I'm going to show you another picture in a few minutes. Everything develops. Technology gets better. Technology is not perfect. Just like an umpire, technology is not perfect. However, look at all these mobile phones. When you get your mobile phone, you expect it to operate absolutely flawlessly, don't you? And just like an umpire, when I start the season, most people expect me to be perfect and then somehow get better. They expect umpires to be perfect and then get better. It doesn't work that way. This is some of the technology we're using today. You see, one of my biggest challenges as a cricket umpire is that not only did I have to make decisions, but I had to compete. I had to compete against the technology. 31 cameras, hotspots, Snicko, Hawkeye, all the technology, I had to compete against it. Because they're always looking to tell me what I got wrong. But one of the great things about technology is it also told me how many decisions we got right. I'm going to put up a slide in a couple of minutes that basically says that technology is there to support us. It's not there to replace us. Those people in the audience that are designing technology for the future, just like a cricket game, number one, make it simple. Keep it simple. Number two, look for technology to help and add value, not to replace. And three, it should be excellent. It won't be perfect. So don't try to make it perfect. And when you look at designing and making something new, you don't have to get it right to start with. You just got to get it started. Because that constant evolution, that constant development, will take care of itself. Who's got an iPhone 10? Anyone got an iPhone 10? I just bought my wife one. I've got an iPhone 8. But there's been... Technology is no different. Hotspot's not perfect. Remember I talked about the very hot and the very cold on the field? When it's extremely hot, if it's more than 40 degrees, hotspot's no good. If it's less than 10 degrees, hotspot's no good. So guess who makes the decisions? So when we have a DRS like we had a few today in Melbourne, and you listen to Richard Kettlebrough go through the process, yep, Richard's very good, by the way, one of the best. Richard goes, well, I want to see leg side hotspot, and then he wants to see RTS. Why do we do that? It's because technology, the process itself, we have some built-in redundancy. So that if hotspot doesn't show something, we then go to the next layer of redundancy, which is real-time Snicko. Now we have some parameters with Snicko, which is this window, but of course it's dependent upon frame rates. Now we work with all different types of frame rates in cricket. 25 frames a second at the very minimum, which is broadcast quality, 75 frames a second, which is slow motion, right up to 300 frames a second, which is Hawkeye. And BSkyB in London also have an ultra motion camera, which is 1,000 frames per second. Imagine competing against that. Yeah, that's tough. Then, if that's not enough technology for you, we've got to compete with the old Hawkeye. So it uses 6 cameras at 300 frames a second to plot the ball. And that's what creates this image here. So each of those is made up of frame, up to there. And then there's a human involved in this process. There's a human involved here. And the human says, well, this is the point of impact. Now, were you all watching the cricket this afternoon? Yes. There was an LBW appeal on MS Dhoni. Yes. Going over the top. Yes. I'm looking at that thinking, when they showed the overlay, I thought the ball hit a bit lower than where they stopped it. That's what I thought. But that's human in there. What happens after that? That's up for the mathematicians to sort out. But it's a predictive path, okay? And that's why we have some of these fudge factors about umpires call. Yep? Now, if that's not enough technology for you, then we have this one. So when all else fails, I know that these guys will get it right. The game is always easier from the commentary box than the TV. It's always easier. Commentators are the only group in the game that never make a mistake. Alright, so for those of you that are taking some notes, here's a couple more suggestions, a couple more ideas. Talked about that one. One of the things that you need to be really good at to be successful and to go places is be adaptable. Because the only constant in the world is change. So, being adaptable, because your industry is changing, my industry is changing. You move on or you move out. You need to stay relevant and you need to stay current. And you need to move with the times. Remember I told you about the third umpire screen? That's what a third umpire's got in front of them today. A fruit machine with all the statistics. So you thought the commentators were fantastic, weren't you? No, all that information is given to them. Score, overs, partnership, runs off the over. All those stats are given to them. However, third umpire has to watch the program screen. He's watching for run-outs, he's watching for decisions. Lots of things going on. It's the hardest job in the team now, being a third umpire. Then we've got things like pink ball. And there's a bit of resistance to that change in India, isn't there? Yes. A bit of resistance to change. That's a mindset. That's a mindset. Remember I talked about trying new things? As a child, if you go back to the early days, when your parents put new food in front of you, just try it. No, don't like that. Don't like that, I'm not going to eat that. Just try it. Just try it. One day when you're a parent, you're going to do exactly the same thing. Come on, just try it. And you'll get the same reaction from your children. No, I don't want to touch that. Not interested. All we want you to do is to try new things. I can tell you that it does take 10,000 hours to get to world class. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of hard work. To get to world class in anything, takes a lot. Why do I show you this picture here? These are two national panel umpires in Australia. They're on the same level. John's actually done international cricket. as an umpire. Greg one day might. But you couldn't meet two different people. Not in terms of physicality. That's part of it. That's the long and short of it. But they're also very different personalities. But the formula's the same. Because if I can do it, you can do it. The formula's the same. It takes focus, patience, perseverance, hard work. And this is a biggie over here. Self-belief. I could spend a couple of hours just talking about self-belief and actually get you to do some exercises to build self-belief. I don't have that. But this guy here took him 10 years to get to world class as well. I find it amazing out of a population of 1.2 billion people, we only have one Indian umpire on the league now. I find that amazing. We need to create an environment where it's safe to make mistakes. When you come to a lecture, when you go to a seminar, when you go to a workshop, that's the place to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are good. I should know, I've made a few. Mistakes are good. It's where you learn. If you're not making mistakes, you're not learning. Educators should find out what you don't know and what you do know. Not just what you do know. You need to make as many mistakes as you can to learn. And the best place of doing that is right here, not out there. I want to make mistakes in the training environment, not in front of millions of people. Why would I want to do that? We need an environment where it's okay. And I'd love your educators up the front to really take away my key message for them, give you permission to make mistakes. And don't feel embarrassed. One of the things I did early days with the Indian umpires when I started coaching them and training them was I put my worst game up on the board. I think you might have mentioned that tonight. That's okay. That made me the umpire that I am today. If I hadn't have had that game, maybe I wouldn't have been as good. But I needed to go through that. You don't say that at the time, but you do need to go through it. So making an environment where it's okay is really important. Now, remember this guy? If you learn nothing else from tonight, apart from some of the funny stories, some of the good pictures, I'm going to give you 5 key messages on this slide to think about. 5 key messages from Virat and myself, because we are on the same page about these 5 key messages. Okay, so hopefully Virat and myself have got enough credibility for you to listen. Tigger? Are you done? Be yourself. Be yourself. So MS Dhoni has had some great influence on Virat Kohli, so has Sachin Tendulkar. But Virat's captaining the side. Not MS Dhoni, not Sachin Tendulkar. So Virat Kohli has to be himself. You need to be the best you that you can be, because everyone else is taken. Don't try to be someone else. Don't try to be something that you're not. Be the best you that you can be. Don't ask other people to do things that you're not prepared to do yourself. Don't ask other people to do things that you're not prepared to do yourself. Pretty simple, isn't it? Remember that was one of the things I talked about tonight? Keep it simple. Just lead by example. You've got a wonderful heritage in this country and a wonderful former leader in Mahatma Gandhi. And today I was writing and reading about leadership. And Gandhi said something which says, be the change that you want to see in the world. Be the change that you want to see in the world. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. What else did Virat and I agree upon? You don't owe the game anything. You owe everything to the game. I would not be here today if it wasn't for the game of cricket. Guarantee that. I would not be here today if it wasn't for cricket. And for that, I'm very grateful. So I owe the game everything. Everything. And if you take things out of your fraternity or out of your college or out of your vocation and you put nothing back in, it's exactly like a bank account. You make lots and lots of withdrawals and no deposits. What happens? What happens? You go bankrupt. It's not sustainable. Preparation is king. The game's played up here. Everything that you do starts up here, and the difference is up here. Sure, some things are physical, but most of it's up here. So really try to get your mental game sorted out and be mentally strong and tough. And the last one, trust. Trust yourself. Remember I talked about self-belief? Trust yourself that you can do things because you've actually put in the hard work to do it. That's self-belief. Trust in the process. Does that make sense? 5 things. Try to remember at least one of those if you can. So, I'm about to wrap up now before we take a couple of questions. We need you, the next generation, to make India a better place. And if you don't believe me, he wants to be there too. I was stuck on a bus with Virendra. Stuck on a bus with Virendra Sehwag, Brian Lara, Sachin Tendulkar, Kurt Ambrose, Jacques Kallis.
It all stars.
Ricky Ponting, Shane Warne, Sachin Tendulkar, Surya Ganguly, PBS Laxman. Lots of them. I sat on this bus and Virendra and I were talking and I said to Virendra, what are you going to do when you finish playing cricket? Oh, I'll do some coaching, blah, blah, blah. I said, why don't you become an umpire? Not enough money umpiring. I said, Viru, why don't you try my hat on? Fitted like a glove. So I took a photo of Viru. Looks pretty good, doesn't he? Yeah. So next time you see Viru, if you happen to see Viru, ask him to become an umpire. All right, so that's it for me.